Hi guys, welcome to Listen to Myself. This is Pearly. So, if you're new here, hello, my name is Pearly and I'm from Taiwan and I'm 28 years old right now. So, if you have already been following me for a while, welcome back and welcome to the first ever episode of my video podcast. So, I actually have been doing uploading podcast episodes rather consistently since the beginning of this year. However, all of my previous episodes are available only in audio. So if you're interested in listen to my previous episodes, you could check them out on like Spotify, Apple Music and all the other platforms. Let's jump right into what I'm going to talk about today. So the topic of this episode is taking care of my mental health as a full-time content creator. So it's actually quite interesting. Like before I even started my channel, which is around the beginning of last year, I already knew that it's not going to be that easy mentally. Like I already kind of predicted that I'm going to run into quite many challenges and I really need to take care of my mental health. I think I heard about it like here and there from different YouTubers when they share their life or share their thoughts online on YouTube. So I sort of already had an idea of like mental health is something that I need to be careful about before I even started my channel. And I found it quite interesting is because I feel like when we are considering whether to start our own channel, usually mental health, like a mental aspect, is something that we tend to forget. Like we might start to plan about or like consider about whether we're going to make enough money or what content are we going to make or how can we attract more audiences, more views, more subscriptions, and etc. But it's quite easy to forget that to factor in the mental health aspect. So today I want to talk about I try to summarize some of the things that I think are quite unique when it comes to the mental challenges we are going to face as a content creator. So for today's episode, I think if you're interested in becoming a content creator or you are already a content creator or you're just like kind of interested in this industry and curious about what is it like going on and what's the life look like as a content creator, then I think this episode is for you. So first of all, I want to say that probably like the first lesson that I learned is in this content creation world, I actually I mainly focus on YouTube, so I'm not so sure about other platforms. However, I do think that at least for YouTube, like working hard and taking a lot of time to produce your content doesn't equal to it doesn't necessarily will give you reward. Like it's not that as long as you spend time into it, you are going to get the reward. And by reward, I meant views, subscription, money, popularity, things like that. So I think even right now, like around almost 2 years into this industry, still a lot of time, like I spend tons of time working on a piece of work, like a video, and like the views are so low and no one really commented and no one really noticed. And it's just the case that it's not proportional. It's not like you worked hard and you are going to get the reward. And I think this is something that could be quite hard to accept, especially in the beginning stage of your content creation journey or like as a content creator, because I think traditionally, like for traditional job, like for my previous job, I work at a company, like if you work hard, at least in the end of that month, you are going to receive at least some money from the company. You are going to at least get rewarded somehow. But it's not the case for content creation. So I find it quite difficult to accept it still right now from time to time, and especially when I first started, because I poured into hundreds of hours and to produce like a piece of work, like videos, but I didn't see any return or just like a very minimal return. So it's really hard to motivate yourself in that case when you don't see the reward you work so hard into producing, creating. Also, another challenge that I faced is it's really easy to emotionally attach ourselves to the metrics and the statistics. So I already noticed that my mood always kind of fluctuates along with the views, subscription, watch hours, and things like that. So if the views is up, I'm happy. If the views is down, I'm not that happy. I'm like unhappy and things like that. So you will find out that sometimes it's not that easy to have like a stable mood, I feel like, especially when your statistics fluctuates quite a lot. Sometimes you are popular, sometimes you are not. And I think it's especially hard when you started to receive some traction. And I think it's actually harder to go from high to the low than always low. You know, when you like just receive no views at all, of course you are not going to be that happy with that. However, I think it's even harder from going from like just like after you experience a lot of tractions, you just go from high and then no, like not that many people, like people stop watching you, and then you just basically go from high to the low. That kind of feeling is actually even worse than always low. At least that's my opinion. So I'm like really much aware of this thing, like my mood change, like it fluctuates along with like how my videos how performed. So I really try to detach myself from that. However, I think it's still like work in process, always, as always. And next, I think it's also really easy to judge the quality and basically how good our work, our videos, our posts, our reels, how good our work is based on how many attention we received. So I think this kind of mindset is just so easy to fall into. For example, if you produce something that you think are really great, you're so satisfied with, and after you share it with the internet, with your subscribers, your like people on the internet, random people, no one really watch it. Like the views are low, the engagements are low, no one really leave any comments, and the watch time is like short. For example, you worked so hard, created like a 15 minutes video, but like the average watch time is only like 2 minutes. Sometimes I think this can hit really hard mentally and emotionally because you just started to second doubt yourself and just started to think that maybe my work is just really bad. It's actually not as good as I think. I shouldn't be satisfied with it, because if it's good, then people should notice it. Like there are more people should notice it, and people should stay longer on my video. I think it's really easy to think in this way. And I would say sometimes it's even like, it just sounds so logical also to think in this way. But I'm like slowly learn to kind of not think in this way actually. Like, I wouldn't say that this kind of mindset is incorrect, but I just don't feel like it paints the whole picture. I think sometimes, like, even if you're like, I feel like sometimes, like, even if no one really noticed my work, if I think it's good, if I think I already tried my best, and if I'm satisfied with it after watching it for like several times, even if no one really notices it, even if no one really compliments you in the comment section, etc., then I would still call it a good work. I would still compliment myself, kind of like validate myself that, yeah, you already did your best, and like this is a great try, and like I actually personally found it to be a really good work. And it's just so happened that just like maybe that video did not like reach the right audiences who would be interested in this piece of work. I started thinking that way, and I think it actually sounds very, very much reasonable for me as well. Like, I feel like in this content creation work, like, except that you already had like a huge fan base, like, or you already like reach basically a momentum, like a milestone that you have like very stable returning viewers, and usually like most of the time a lot of views and things like that. A lot of time it really depends on how well you can validate yourself, like, I think it's really easy to rely on external validation. And I think we all need external validation for a certain degree. But I think in the beginning of this content creation journey, or even if right now I'm like 1.5 years in to this journey, I still feel like internal validation, this skill, is super, super important to develop, because it's going to be really difficult to always rely on others, because you might not always receive what you want to receive, and sometimes you just need yourself to encourage yourself, to support yourself, and to be your number one fan, and to just validate yourself even though no one is validating you, no one is really watching your work, your content. And I also want to talk about comparison, which I think is also a very tricky thing. It's also a very tricky thing, because I think at least at least wait, why am my English like so weird? Oh, by the way, like, English is not at all my native tongue. I've never lived in an English speaking country, so if you heard a lot of grammar mistakes, now you know why. So I just like apologize for that. I hope it makes sense. Anyway, I think in this content creation world, it's just like everybody's like, we as a content creators, we showcase our work on the internet. So it's just so easy to check out others' work. I think compared to some of the like traditional work, or like maybe most of the traditional work, well, it's true that nowadays with social media, you can easily see what others are doing in their life. But I think it's mainly about their life. So you might compare your life with their life, but not really like your work with their work, because it's just not necessarily that people also work in the same industry or the same position as you. But as a content creator, our job is to share our work on the internet, so it's just so easy to compare your job, how you perform with other content creators. For example, wow, like in such a short time, she or he already received so many followers, so many subscribers, and so many views and things like that. And sometimes this comparison game can just like, it's like a rabbit hole, and it can never stop. if you just let it be like that way. So this is definitely something that I'm also very much aware of. And I would have to admit that I compare myself a lot with other people because I just can't help to. And every time I notice that I'm again comparing myself with others, I try to pull myself back and just try to just like remind myself that everybody's path journey is going to be different. And yeah, just like I think it's just very important to remind this to myself very often. Otherwise it's just so hard mentally to overcome this challenge, this hurdle of always seeing people who perform better than you and just feel like your life suck. Yeah. And another thing I also want to talk about is for YouTube, sometimes it's really easy to be placed into a box by the algorithm. And what I mean is, for my case, so when I first started my channel, I've never really chose a niche. Like I've never really, like, it's never really my intention to making like a very, very narrow niche or like making certain types of videos like language learning. Like right now, like I think most of you came from my language learning videos, and I actually really appreciate that the algorithm like showcase my work to a lot of you. However, at the same time, like the algorithm also already like kind of put a tag on me, like this YouTuber, Pearly, she makes language learning content. She is a language learning like YouTuber. I was like put into that category, that box. And it can be really hard to jump out of that box because now if you keep creating language learning content, like if I keep creating language learning content, the algorithm will just like pull, how do you say, like put these kind of videos out to more people. And also like my viewers are mostly interested, most of our viewers are interested in those kinds of content, so it's just gonna get pushed out even more to more people, so naturally your views are going to be higher in that case. However, for me, like I also want to make other content, like just because I make language learning videos doesn't mean that I only make that kind of videos. But sometimes because of the performances of the videos, it's easy to get kind of pushed away from what you truly want to make and started to make videos that perform well. I think it's especially tricky because it's not that I don't enjoy making language learning content. I do enjoy it a lot. However, I don't want to just make language learning related videos. I also have many other interests, like making travel vlogs, filming like self-development kind of contents, and I also have a lot of things that I want to try out. But sometimes it's just hard to jump out of that box, just like what I said. So I think this also can kind of like create like a mental challenge to you, that you feel like if you stay in that box, keep creating those content, you are going to be happy because you are going to perform better. Your videos are going to perform better. However, at the same time, you are also not happy because you also want to make other videos. But making other videos, like for, how do you say, like very, very much likely it's not going to perform that well, and then you are not happy. Like, it's like always like it's hard to find like a balance. I hope you get what I mean. Also about burnout, I think it's really popular, I guess, around like a few months ago, that a lot of YouTubers mentioned that start to like, how do you say, said that they are going to quit. They are going to, because like a lot, like how to say, they experience burnout and things like that. And I would say before I started my channel, it's hard to imagine what does it mean by having like a burnout, like if it's something that I really love doing, if it's something that, just I have like my creative freedom, then how can I be burned out by that? It's supposed to be something that is very, very enjoyable. However, yeah, after like a few months in, I realized that the burnout thing is so true. I think it's great that when you get to do, like, when you can turn your passion into your job, but I think I guess, like, as a human being, sometimes we just cannot do those things, even if it's like passionate you, like all the time. I guess the thing is, we need to have something that has nothing to do with your job, has nothing to do with money, has nothing to do with satisfy a demand and things like that. So I think when you turn your passion and what you like to do into your job, it's really easy to just lose like your hobbies all at once, because all your hobbies now became part of your job, and you no longer have hobbies anymore. And that's not good. That's, I think, why I also felt burned out at like some point in my journey, that I just feel like I'm doing my work all the time, even though it is something that really interests me, that I like to do. And also, sometimes, like, as a YouTuber, we have this pressure of like we cannot really take a break kind of thing, because like this platform kind of want creators, of course, to produce and create more and more, like more content, like how do you say, like as many contents as much content as possible, right? So that they can keep people using this platform, so they can show you ads. So sometimes, even if you want to take a break, it's hard to really take a break without feeling guilty about taking a break, because you feel like you are going to be forgotten by people if you take a long break. Or maybe the algorithm is not going to like you and things like that. So sometimes we have this fear that we just cannot take a break. But I think it's not right to think in that way. And I'm slowly kind of try to shift my mindset in this aspect. Okay, so right now, with the start of my video podcast, like I want to include like a short intermission. Like I actually got this idea by from Soju with Sarah, like another really good podcast, and I just found like this kind of intermission session to be like really, really cute. And in my intermission session, I actually still didn't really know what I wanted to do. But right now, I decided that at least for this episode, and maybe for the following episodes as well, that I'm going to read a poem during my intermission, like this short intermission. And I'm planning to read poems in different languages, basically in languages that I know. So this one is going to be in English, and next one maybe I'll go do a French one, and maybe later Spanish one, and I'll give like Arabic one to try, but definitely also Japanese one as well, and also in Mandarin as well. I just find it fun to just like read poem in different languages. So anyway, today I want to read The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost to you. And after I read the poem out loud, I'm going to just like kind of like include a little bit of the explanation, because sometimes the poem can be difficult to understand. Even like, yeah, it's just not that easy to understand. But anyway, let me get it started. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. And sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveler long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sign. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one that's traveled by, and that has made all the difference. So that's a poem by Robert Frost. And like, I think this is one of my favorite poems of all time. So this poem is basically a meditation on the choices we make in life. So basically there are like two roads, and Robert Frost decided to chose the road, the one that's traveled by. So like, which for the road that's traveled by, it also kind of like suggests that it is a choice that is unconventional or like more risky. So basically the poem reflects on how these choices shape our lives, and how the paths we take or don't take define who we become. Yeah, so that's a little bit of this like read poem out loud kind of intermission. I don't know if it makes sense or if you're going to like it, but anyway, like you can just like leave in the comment. You can like tell me that in the comment, or just, yeah, basically tell me if you like it. That's basically it. This is so awkward because I don't even know what I'm doing. But anyway, I kind of like it because I like to read poem a lot. So yeah, just let me know if you like it. But I think I'm gonna try a few more episodes of reading this poem kind of intermission. But yeah, that's about it. And let's end our intermission, and let's keep moving forward to this episode about taking care of my mental health as a content creator, as a full-time content creator. Okay, now let's talk about financial wise. I think maybe you already know that being a content creator, it's not that easy to make a lot of money. I mean, for certain cases, I guess it is. And I think on social media, it's easier to see those people who make a lot of money, and we might think that, oh, it's so great to be an influencer, easy money, things like that. But in reality, at least in my case, the money is really, how do you say, the earnings is very volatile. It just fluctuates so much. And if you prefer to have like a stable income and you really need a stability, then I would say content creation is going to be so stressful. And again, it's like, even if you spend a lot of time, you spend a lot of energy, you make a lot of effort, you work really hard on it, it doesn't mean that you will be rewarded monetarily, like you will be rewarded financially. So just let me give you like an example. For example, like for sometimes for like the videos that I produced, that I created, if the views aren't that high, sometimes I only get like maybe $1 or $2 out of a video. So you get what I mean. Like even though I spend like that, say in total like sometimes like 30 hours to create that content, from scripting to filming to editing and to finally upload it and add the subtitles, like in total 30 to 40 hours on average, and sometimes I only get like $2-3 and or like $5 or something like that, only for those video that received like a lot of view, that got basically like was exploded. That kind of video got like many much more money from like out of the AdSense, but in general it's still not that high given how many hours you spend on creating all these videos, all those content. So it's just like financial wise, it can also like mentally be very, very tough. And I want to move on to social media usage because I find it really interesting. When I was a consumer, before I put myself into this internet world, social media world, like if I'm like not happy with social media, I could just delete them, I could just delete my app, delete my account, and just like stay away from it. However, now as a creator, I think the situation is more complicated. Of course, you can still delete your account, delete the apps. However, I feel like a lot of time, when you're actually creating something, inspiration is also very, very important. Like I'm constantly looking for inspiration online, and to be honest, there are so many great artists, there are so many great content creators online. So I just feel like, if of course if they're like the social media is causing me like mentally to kind of experience a lot of suffering, like maybe it's just like keep making me to compare myself with others and things like that. Of course, stay away from social media is going to help a lot, but at the same time, if I completely stay away from it, I feel like it would be such a pity to lose a lot of opportunity to get inspired and to discover different kinds of art, different kinds of work. So I think it's definitely it became much more complicated after you actually do this as a job yourself. Especially, I feel like YouTube is like okay, but for Instagram is much easier to get, how do you say, to turn it into something that is very toxic to you mentally. But at the same time, I just feel like I couldn't really completely stay away from it because I still receive so many positive impacts, influences from it, on it, just by looking at different kinds of work. And it's just so amazing to see so many different great works. Yeah. So it's more complicated. And just like what I said, like I think it's really interesting when I was still a consumer, just like solely as a consumer, like when I look at others' photos, I would feel like, wow, their lives are so great compared to mine, something like that. When I get into this like kind of like negative kind of cycle. But right now, I still from time to time feel that way, but there are something more right now because I would start to check maybe the number of their followers, their views and things like that, or the numbers of the likes, and I would told myself that, oh my god, they're performing so well, then why it isn't the case for me? So like you now have like look at it from like kind of like different perspectives, which can be even more toxic, to be honest. Yeah, which is also something that I'm really happy that I'm aware of my own problem, like what's going on in my mind, and at least I know it. So I'm always like very careful about it. And lastly, I want to talk about work-life balance. So, the thing is, I think it's so great when you get to do what you like to do as your job. Well, right now, like really like all what I do right now, like the things I create are genuinely something that I want to create, that I'm happy to create them, and I find a lot of meanings in creating them, even though I do not really receive that much of compensation, like I mean financial wise in return. I still feel really happy when I create them, and I'm really happy like when I share them with people. I just feel very, very meaningful. However, sometimes I feel like, just like what I said, that it's easy in this case, it's easy to lose your life because right now I think it's really easy to feel that we need to monetize every part of our life, especially for me. Like, I would also call myself like lifestyle content creator. Like, I also share a lot of my life. It isn't just like knowledge, I guess, like still a lot of about my life as well. So sometimes I think I have this pressure that, oh, I also need to monetize this part of my life. I need to monetize that, monetize this, and you will realize you actually are in the process of turning all your hobbies or your private life into something that can share with people so that you can monetize it in some way. And I feel like that is really not that healthy. I think, I don't know why, but I just have this gut feeling telling me that it's still really important and meaningful to kind of preserve something just for me. Like, there should be something in my life that are not going to that I will not share with others, that are not going to be shared with people on the internet. Like, I just keep it for myself and just do it for myself and not for sharing with others. And there's this just like intuition, I guess, and gut feeling telling me this. So I think while it is beautiful to share your thoughts, your work, your arts, your anything with others, and it's really meaningful, and you can have, if you can have like positive impact on others, it's really beautiful. However, it is also beautiful to keep something to yourself, to keep some of the work or maybe some of the things you built just with yourself. And that's also very, very beautiful, and I think it's good for your well-being. At least that's what I think. So that's the end of this episode. I hope you like it. I feel like, I don't know, like I think one thing, definitely one big lesson I learned after becoming a content creator is to let go of my perfectionism, because I used to be someone that if I felt like something's wrong, even if it's like a minor mistake, I would just like do it all over again. And I ended up never share anything with others because I feel like my work is just not perfect yet. However, I really, yeah, kind of like overcome that thing, that mindset. Right now it's much better. As you can already tell that like this episode I still uploaded online to share with you guys. So I just want to end this episode by saying that just like what I summarized, like all these like mental challenges that I experienced after becoming a content creator, like even right now, I still experience those challenges from time to time, or like some of them very often. But I think what's really cool about this job as a content creator, because is it has taught me a lot about myself. For example, when I experience these negative emotions or these like difficult challenges emotionally, mentally, like right now, because I am self-employed. I work for myself and I create things. I make decisions all by myself and things like that. So I take full responsibility of all the things that I encounter, which I think is really cool in the sense that I can no longer blame my problem on others. Like, for example, when I used to work at a company, sometimes when I encounter negative like emotions or like challenges, sometimes I just blame it on others because of hey him or she, like what they does or things like that. But right now I really try to like look into myself and try to face them and realize that I actually have a lot of control in terms of how I'm going to react in all this. And also, like, it really depends on how can I cope with them and how can I change it, etc. So I think it's really nice, and I love the fact that being a content creator has indirectly taught me a lot of things about myself, like a lot of that allow me to face a lot of emotions that I never really faced directly in my life. And that's really cool. Anyway, that's the end of today's episode. I hope you find it helpful or like you enjoyed it. And I'll talk to you or I'll see you again in the next episode. Bye bye. Bye bye.